Can I come out?
Yeah, go on then.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I suppose.
Oh, it's bright.
Stop moaning.
No, I don't want to.
Stop being silly. Come on.
Okay. Oh, that's what they look like.
Yeah.
Can I say it?
No, you'll get it wrong.
I won't mess it up, I promise.
Ugh, go on then.
Can I? Welcome to a journey, Mora in time. Is that all right? What?
I guess practice does make perfect. Welcome to Devlog number 14 of Mora, a journey in time.
Hi everybody, I am Matt, the story guy, as been alluded to in a lot of these devlogs so far. Very glad to see you. I've been allowed out into the daylight, away from my cellar and my bucket of fish heads, scrubbing rocks, to talk to you. Very, very happy to be here. I've been told I'll have to behave myself, so that's what I'm going to do. Alan, I'm all right. I'm behaving myself. You just sent me a message.
These creative types, you never know what they're going to come up with next. Welcome to Devlog number 14, as I say. The format of this one will be slightly different. I thought it'd be nice to get Matt introduced a little bit more to the community, get you all knowing him a bit more about him, which I thought would be really nice, and maybe the creative process that he goes through as well with the story. Thought that might be something that will be useful to some of you. I know a lot of us here are a bit more technical than we are creative, so that might be quite beneficial. But there is also a very important announcement at the end of this video as well, just with how Mora is evolving, how it's going to be changing, but also an important announcement about the devlogs. We will be doing more frequent devlogs, or should I say dev snippets. Now, I might as well announce this early on in the video so it's clear to as many people as possible the changes that are taking place. But I am stopping the bi-weekly sort of 10 to 15 minute devlogs for the time being. And instead what myself and Matt are going to focus on is providing sort of 30-second to 2-minute snippets of videos of things that we've been working on and how they are progressing. Hopefully this will give us more time to actually work on the game. Devlogs take a long time to develop and then they take a long time to produce as well. So what I'm trying to do is just narrow down that time into development time for the game so we can actually get something out there for you to play. I hope those changes go well with the community, and I hope they go well with growing the community as we have been as time goes on. But that's enough of that. For now, let's get on with our interview with Matt and ask him our first question. So we know your name already, Matt. We know you're the story guy, but is there anything else that you'd like to tell everybody something about yourself?
I am in the beautiful county of West Yorkshire. You'll notice my accent is a lot different to Alan's. That's because up here we speak proper. No, we're just from a different part of the world. I'm married, I've got 3 kids, 2 cats, and no hair.
Oh, I've got a theory. I think you marked your hair as static and then walked off. Okay, what about a second point then? How did you end up getting involved in Mora?
The reason I'm in Mora is I've always wanted to write. I've always wanted to draw. I've always wanted to be involved in the creative side of telling stories. And when Alan asked me if I wanted to get involved, I jumped at the chance. Why wouldn't I? Of course. The chance to get what's in here out so that I can fill it with something else. Yeah, why not? Of course, please do.
It was actually quite funny as well because I'd been telling Matt a little bit about Mora and the game that I'd started developing, and I didn't want to add to Matt's load with his family load of getting him in on the game to do the story, but Matt didn't want to ask me either because he didn't want to feel like he was just pushing into the game. So when I did finally bite the bullet and ask him, it was like, oh, finally, it's actually happened. So that was a really nice moment, and it's worked so well from that point because the story that we've been developing, as you know, is turning out to be pretty awesome. So Matt then, what's your background? Are you a technical person?
I am not a coder. I have very little knowledge about computers, as Alan will tell you, and Be Blessed will tell you. And of those of you who have been foolish enough to ask me for computer advice on the Discord channel, I know next to nothing, but I do know how to tell a story.
Okay, so as a story guy then, what's your process? How do you get going?
The first thing to do whenever you're starting any story or any project is have yourself a workspace. Now, we use an online workspace called Codex. You've probably heard of that. If not, we can stick a link in somewhere. Now, Codex is a fantastic system. Think of a pack of cards laid out in front of you, each with elements of your project. You can fully customize them, and you can also choose who can see them. So if you're working with a group of people, they can all add or take away or give suggestions on those things. You can set priorities for them. Very, very, very useful if you're starting a project like this. So get yourself something like Codex or one of the many alternatives there are out there.
Okay, so as you're writing the stories, you're developing it in your mind, do you just sort of like throw it all on paper, keep it to yourself, and then throw it at the team? What's your process with that?
Get their input, get their advice. I am just one man. I could run away with this story and it could go all over the place, but I don't know whether that story's good. So check with others, get some extra eyes on your story. Alan has a meticulous attention to detail. He's very analytical in how he does things, and he will not let a plot line drop if he sees one, which is very handy when it comes to setting a story as epic as Mora. Sam is the music guy. You've probably heard him being referenced to. He's done a great job so far with some of the music, but he's got a very theatrical flair. He also has an idea of how to reach the heart with music. He also has a mustache. So we wanted to tap into all that knowledge. Very, very valuable. So don't be afraid to share. Don't be afraid to get criticism on your story either, because that's how it gets good. The next important thing to do is to decide how many chapters you want it to get to. Now, this is a bugbear of mine. I don't know if it's one of yours, where you'll start watching a series of films or a series on TV, and towards the end they've got a story to tell, but they're running out of episodes, or they're running out of the movie time, and they cram too much in all at once, and the story doesn't get the justice that it deserves. A prime example of this is the Star Wars saga. Don't worry, I'm not dissing Star Wars. I'm not, look at me, I am a sci-fi buff. But just bear with me. The original trilogy, perfection. Nothing wrong with it whatsoever. But when they did the prequels, they set themselves a 3-movie limit. And as good as the story was, by episode 3, they were cramming so much in to a 2-hour movie that it seemed a little bit rushed towards the end, with Darth Vader. No, yeah, they could have made another movie with the information there. And that's the point we were trying to make. If you're going to make a story, decide how many chapters you want. You want to give your ideas the airspace that they deserve. So we decided on around 10 chapters, and we felt that gives it depth. We can do justice to the storyline. We have chance to develop the characters, develop the universe that we're trying to create in Mora.
How do you plan things like progression, like the story arc, maybe chapters, episodes, however it works out? How does that work in your mind? And then how's that going to feature in Mora?
Now, for those who don't know, a story arc is a story that will carry over from episode or level to level. So you want a story arc to start. Some story arcs will go the full length of the story, of the journey. Some story arcs will only last a couple of episodes. Some story arcs will only last 1 or 2 episodes. Decide your story arcs and then stick to those story arcs. And then what you want to do is break up, create a deck for each chapter. Now, by the end of this chapter, what do we want to achieve? Will any story arcs be finished? How will we develop the story arcs if they're not going to finish? Which story arcs will have started? Are we leaving it on a cliffhanger? Are we leaving it on a high? Leaving it on a low? These things need to be decided before you even put pen to paper and start writing. Once you've got that in place, you've got your backbone of your story. Now you can start writing. But the key to it, have an end game in sight, i.e., by the end of your storytelling, what do you want to happen? Have that in place, and then you can start right at the beginning and start your stories. But again, always check with who you're working with. Does this sound all right? Does this sound all right? Throughout, I think I've pestered the rest of the Mora team when I write out a chapter, and then I'll ping them and say, right, ready for your perusal, guys. And still haven't heard from you guys. Still haven't heard from you guys. Read my story. We want people to see them. We want people to read this, to get their ideas, so that we can hone the story. Now, when I tell you that the story we are creating for Mora is epic, that doesn't really do it justice.
And that's all we're going to say on that matter for now. Okay, any concluding comments on this interview then, Matt?
If you have any questions on how to write a story, how to develop the story, or anything else relating to the creative side of Mora, drop us a line. You can do this on the Discord channel or through any of the other means, and I'll be happy to discuss it with you.
Thanks for that, Matt. Really appreciate you getting involved in this devlog, and really looking forward to you being more involved as time goes on as well. Now, to everybody else, I did mention that there was important announcements regarding Mora and how it's evolving, how it's changing. Now, none of this is for the bad. These are all really good points. But I've already made an announcement on Discord a couple of days ago outlining the plans going forward and what I hope to achieve. Now, these do include more features, which is always a good thing, but not feature creep. You see, I've had a couple of problems in mind over the past few weeks as I've been working on that secular project I mentioned. And there's been 2 main problems. The first problem is development time. I'm working full-time, I have a family, I have other responsibilities. So there's only so much time that I'm able to dedicate to Mora. That's one problem. The second problem is, as we've released the demo, on the web demo, for those that didn't know, then check the link in the description. We did get featured on the Unity Showcase, and seeing people play the demo was fantastic. I really liked it. The problem I've got is I feel the game's just going to get a little bit boring and tedious as time goes on. And this has been playing in my mind over and over again. So what can we do to Mora to make it more exciting? So with regards to problem number 1, how do we solve that development time? Well, as I've already mentioned, this is where the change to the devlog routine has changed. So we are going to be doing very regular sort of 2-3 day updates on YouTube. So be sure to subscribe, and then you'll get the ping to show these 30-second to 2-minute snippets of what we've been working on. Now that will be myself, and it will also be Matt. They will be categorized as such. We will have coding, gameplay, design, and story. So just 30 seconds to 2 minutes that explain something that we've done, something we've achieved in that particular area. And then the next part, the exciting part. So how do we stop Mora getting boring over time? Now, we've got this wonderful story that's going to feature throughout, but there's only so many doors that you can learn to open, only so many ways round a route that you can learn until it gets a little bit tedious. So what we're doing a phased plan to try and get around this. Now Mora HQ, which you might have seen little snippets of here and there on Discord, that's going to feature as a really heavy part of the game. It's going to be like the central hub of where you start your game. Things will revolve around Mora HQ. Now, one of the major things that we're going to be introducing in the game is temporal rifts. Now, these will be either single player or up to 4-player multiplayer online rifting in Mora. Now, the general idea of the rifts is that you go in on your own or as a team, and you've got to remove relics, you've got to remove creatures that don't belong in that time zone. Now, one of the core principles that we've had in mind with Mora is to not be a violent game, and we are not going to be changing that core principle, and that will feature heavily as we go through in these temporal rifts. And this is something that I've been struggling with, to try and add this aspect of the game in without making it violent. But myself and Matt have had a really good meeting, we've had a really good chat, and we've got some really nice ways that we can add this aspect of the game in with the non-violence principle still in mind. And the next thing we've alluded to in the past is a creative side for the game, resource gathering and building. Now what we're going to be doing is introducing a concept called the Temporal Simulator. Now this will be your place in Mora HQ where you can go and build. You can go and resource gather, you can go and make that thing that you want. Go and do your temporal rift, find a trophy, bring it back, put it into that building, that house that you've made in your temporal simulator. Think of it like the holodeck in Star Trek. It's actually going to be a really exciting part of the game. And who knows, it may feature more so than just a simulator in HQ. And then as far as the actual game goes, rather than just being a puzzle game, we're adding aspects in there for resource gathering as well. And that's going to feature heavily. Think No Man's Sky in terms of repairing a ship in order to continue progression on that point. That's what's floating around in our minds at the moment as we come to that. So I hope this excites you, I really do. And I hope these changes work well in continuing to build the community that we're working so hard on. We want you to be invested in the game. We want you to enjoy the game as well. So if it does take your fancy, if this is your first devlog that you've watched, you've just skipped to the announcement section to see what's happened, well, feel free to subscribe. Don't forget to like the video as well. We really do need all the help we can get with the YouTube algorithm. But also, please feel free to join us on Discord. We've got a fantastic community, really nice people on there, and I really enjoy interacting with them and getting the story feedback and getting feedback on what they think about these ideas. So if you're not one of those guys already, feel free to jump in and take a look with us. But for now, thank you for watching devlog number 14, and we'll see you in the next one.